Welcome to yet another review episode of Underground Trio. This time it's kind of a peculiar because all the albums in this case are from one and the same label, and in fact even funnier it gets when you realize that they are all roughly the same style. Old school death metal by FDA Records. These all are just promo copies, meaning that now that I'm unwrapping the actual booklets here, you will find out that none of these actually have the back inlay. So it's all about just CD booklet and, well, the CD. First we have here unboxing Dead Chasm with Sublimis, Ignotum, Omni. And, well, I guess rest assured, these are all old school death metal from various parts of the world. We'll get to the actual reviews as soon as I have unboxed this. Very simple, back to basic kind of a release. Whatever the back inlay might have, no clue. But I am safely assuming there will be one. Then we have Abolish from Turkey, from the Deaths, with 3 dots. As you can see, even the cover is old school death metal one. I don't know, for some reason it's reminding of Master of the Universe, Skeletor Castle or whatever. So, yeah, let's go back to 1980s mentally as well. Then we have Parasitario, Everything Belongs to Death. And this is from Japan, with kind of a nice old school death metal cover, reminding me of early death ones. There's certain kind of a death feeling with this person with the robe and all. Yeah, I'm thinking of Leprosy, but also Scream Bloody Gore here. However, this is not exactly American type of death metal. Now, worst to best, as according to my own opinion anyway. So Dead Chasm comes from Italy, founded in 2020, so still in the diaper era basically. 1 EP out, and now this first full album 2023. I got to review Dead Chasm 2022 EP, and that was actually quite good old school death metal. Nothing out of ordinary, kind of a just back to basics, bare bone and all that stuff, but actually nothing wrong with that. However, Sublimis, Ignotum, Omni is a little bit different breed. Not different breed as such in terms of style, but quality. Whereas the EP was actually something more of a promising, it seems like the band had now taken a couple of steps back, and basically they're doing demo level recording here with a full album. Now, luckily this only lasts for 32 minutes because in fact it's quite of a boring album. Don't get me wrong, I do love old school death metal. That's what I always keep saying myself. At least there is old school death metal, traditional black metal and all, which can always be like safe and sound, whatever the quality is, but as one of my colleagues lately pointed out, he's writing for a magazine instead of doing videos, but colleague nonetheless. He said he's even more in the old school death metal than me. He said nowadays there's so many bands doing just kind of a very bland, basic, stripped, bare bones death metal that it's even kind of annoying. The thing here is, when you don't have cool riffs, it doesn't matter whether you understand the basics, whether it's about production, vocals, creating songs, riffs and all that stuff, when it's just outright boring. And unfortunately that's the case with Dead Chasm. I mean, as much as I love old school death metal, as much as I love certain bands and certain styles so much that I could just, cut my fingers for it, then again, sometimes albums such as this pop up only to remind that not everything in death metal is actually good. This isn't bad, but this is very forgettable, very unmemorable death metal where it's like no single good riffs. Everything is here yeah, you got the basic production, you got the kind of a basic growly vocals, but more like the question arising is, so fucking what? Don't get me wrong, I don't hate this album, I just find it utterly boring. I could as well be listening to the normal rock radio station and be as much inspired by the thing here. There's nothing majorly wrong, except that it doesn't have anything good on it. It's more like, yeah, can we just skip to the part where it's good, and there is none. Unfortunately, this is much like a demo which should have come before the self-titled EP. Don't waste your time on that unless you're a real death metal maniac who is really willing to go to even the crap ones to get something good worthwhile listening to. This isn't probably worth your time. Sorry to say that. Then we have Abolish from Turkey, the one with the Skeletor castle cover. And much like the Italian ones, this is definitely here with the first album and quite young, 6 years in the making. And what is curious is that, well, yes, you know, most of the death metal audience, not to mention artists, are guys. This one has actually one female member. Something worthwhile taking note of. I don't know why women are not that interested in death metal, but that is how it is. So here we have the lineup, 5 people, and you have actually, indeed, female vocalist, which is a rarity, not only in terms of, you know, style, but also how often women do good death metal vocals. I could barely count those with my one hand. That's how rare it really is. What matters is that From the Depths is a little bit better than Dead Chasm, but still very much in the making of the first demo kind of stuff. Everything here is almost like Dead Chasm with a little bit more glimpses of hope. So once again, you have decent production, but nothing out of ordinary. You have decent growly vocals, nothing out of ordinary. You have quite promising songwriting, but still quite a bit of fillers, nothing out of ordinary. You get my rambling here. The thing here is, I kind of wanted to like Abolish even more, but when I'm listening to it, it only makes me think of the rather classic ones, which actually are filled with good songs. Whether we're talking about bands like Death or the ones from, you know, Sweden, Entombed, Dismember, what have you, this is like more like, yeah, go back to creating your own demo. And I think too often bands nowadays, especially when it's too easy to just record a full album, they make the mistake. They skip the demo phase and jump right into the first album phase, and that's, as a result, makes the first album sound like they're still doing the demo. As such, I would say Abolish is half decent. Basically, it's very mediocre, much like Dead Chasm, but it has a little bit better ideas here and there. Too few, however, to make it actually a good album. But at least it's a tad bit better. Which leads us to the last, but also the best one, called Parasitario from Japan. This isn't an old band either, 5 years in, but they have actually done quite a bit of recordings prior to this first album. Singles, EPs, demos, what have you. And as a result, I don't know, Everything Belongs to Death sounds way more solid, way more rehearsed, practiced, progressive, whatever, compared to the previous ones. They actually have figured out how to cut most of the filler parts away and sticking some 37 minutes, 10 tracks to basic old school death metal. Now, this production, once again, doesn't really do anything much differently than the others here, but it's a little bit better. It's almost like taking me back to the 1990s Swedish style with the production, how guitars especially sound and all that stuff. But that alone doesn't really cut the corners. I mean, the thing here is, what matters, these guys know songwriting and creating riffs better than the 2 previous bands mentioned. Style is roughly the same with all of these. I mean, what I could say, if you like old school death metal, you can just check them all out and figure out what's your favorite. But I think Parasitario clearly stands out from the rest. It's not much better than Abolish, but it's clearly better. Does that make any sense? I'm pointing it out. While Dead Chasm is pure mediocrity, Abolish is pure mediocrity with some glimpses of hope, and Parasitario is actually on their way making a good album. This is definitely on the decent side, if not outright good. And the result is many smaller things which these 2 previous ones are missing. So if you want to pick the best of this pile, it's clearly Parasitario. Maybe the next album will be the actual good one, but now it's definitely on the right route. I mean, it's not in the demo phase anymore as like those 2 other bands. So this is the order according to my opinion. But like I said, if you like old school death metal bands, check out all of them. You will find links provided in the description box, and then you can figure out which one you actually like. But this is my final verdict. 1 decent one, 2 mediocre ones, and that's it. So thanks for your time checking out the review. Should you dislike it, give it a thumbs down. You like it, thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel. Take care with your old school death metal and stay brutal, stay safe, stay heavy.